Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Total Cloud Sec team for Cloud Security Project. The team is made up of three students, which are Rohit Ahuja, Abhinav Vaklu, and Harshit Sharma. So we are going to discuss four aspects here today. We have introduction, architecture diagram, and implementation, and the conclusion. For introduction, I'm just going to introduce what cloud security really is. So there are a lot of definitions around the internet. There is a definition by NIST, which is National Institute of Standard and Technology. They have given out a definition, and you'll find many different types of definition. But in layman terms, cloud computing is like an on-demand remote computing where cloud service providers enable users to deploy or run shared pool of configurable computers sitting in a remote location. Cloud is highly scalable, which means more computer muscle can be added on demand in case of increased traffic or workload. And it is metered, which means you only pay for what you use. For the project, we implemented AWS, WordPress on AWS, and for AWS setup, we first installed WordPress on EC2 instance, hosted it via Namecheap domain, and added Let's Encrypt SSL certificate using certbot using Python. Implemented CloudWatch for monitoring statistics such as CPU utilization, network monitoring, RAM and disk I/O. Also added alarms along with SNS, which is simple notification service to send trigger mails or alarms if CPU threshold is greater than 1%. And also to ensure recovery in case of any security incident, we took EC2 snapshots and backup for WordPress websites. We also implemented Datadog for monitoring AWS infrastructure such as server, database, event logs, and more. For WordPress hardening, we implemented two-factor authentication for WordPress using a plugin known as Duo Authentication plugin. We can add this plugin to our mobile phone and also to the WordPress website. The app is installed on the phone and sends out an authentication code, which is required as a method for two-factor authentication. For IAM or identity access management, we renamed default user from admin to customer username. We used inactive logout plugin, which automatically terminates idle user sessions for physical security. We used WP, which is WordPress Super Cache plugin, which clears cache on certain time intervals as it serves cached pages on your WordPress site. We used Updraft plus Backup Restore plugin for backing up WordPress website. We manually renamed themes and plugins so it does not get detected in a WordPress scan or in any enumeration phase. We initially wanted to use a plugin to remove the detection or prevent attackers from gaining insight about theme or plugins, but we were not able to implement it, so we manually did it. This is the architecture. We have users. They can then there is a DNS service implemented by Namecheap. We have Amazon CloudFront. Then we have Amazon Web Application Firewall, and then there's Internet Gateway. And from Internet Gateway, there is a virtual private cloud where the instance sit. And then we have application load balancer. We have auto scaling groups, and then we have the instance where the WordPress application is running. For security controls, we wanted to implement a lot of assessment tools, but unfortunately we had a student account, so we were not able to run tools like AWS Inspector. We also found a lot of GitHub repositories for assessment and security configuration of AWS, but again, due to a lack of features from IAM and lack of access key ID and lack of AWS CLI, we were not able to implement that. We identified services where common misconfigurations occur and developed security controls around them. For development of security controls, we use CIS, Center for Internet Security Benchmarks, OWASP, which gives out the list of top 10 vulnerabilities, and multiple GitHub repositories for the development of security controls. We also use WordPress security best practices for the specific CMS controls for hardening WordPress security. So the conclusion or main takeaway from this project is initially we thought cloud would be safe, but it didn't turn out to be as safe as it seems to be, as whenever there is some sort of migration or deployment, people tend to leave some services on AWS misconfigured, which can then be leveraged by attackers and be susceptible to attack. For example, leaving some service on default or leaving it misconfigured. We added various services to the AWS backend and the WordPress frontend to improve and strengthen security. As a result, we were able to study, configure, and assess the security of cloud resources, as well as get an understanding of various issues in different cloud deployment models, such as IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, PaaS, which is platform as a service, and SaaS, which is software as a service. So in the end, I like to quote this quote, which is, with cloud computing, it is no longer a question of if, but rather when and how, which simply means that almost all of the technology now is already on cloud or would be moving on to cloud. For the next part of presentation, I would like to hand it over to Rohit. I'll stop sharing my screen so that he can share his screen.
Thank you, Ashit. So moving on to the implementation part, first we created a AWS Student Academy account, and then we created an instance under it, that is an EC2 instance, which is running a Ubuntu 18.04 Linux server, and the instance type is T2 micro. That's the basic one. And also we have assigned a elastic IP, so we get a static IP to our EC2 instance, and it will not change any time in the future. So not talking about the blog. This is our totalcloudsec.me blog, which is a basic WordPress website, which have various articles or blogs that we can write or a user can write. And we have purchased this domain from the Namecheap. That's a domain service provider, and we got it from GitHub Student Pack. So we purchased the domain here, as you can see, totalcloudsec.me, and we implemented it, and we hosted it online with the EC2 instance. And now moving on to the different features that we have implemented. So we have implemented the CloudWatch, which is basically for monitoring the resources and different EC2 instances. As here you can see, now we have created the alarms for disk, for network, and if the threshold is greater than if the threshold reach is greater than 80, then a alarm is sent to the mail. These are all the alarms that we have created for network, disk, and network out, and CPU utilization. And this is the example of the alarm that we receive when the threshold is crossed. Here you can see all the details, and it's all mentioned. If the threshold is crossing more than 60 seconds, then the alarm is sent. We also implemented snapshot to our EC2 feature instance, which automatically backups the EC2 whenever they on a certain time interval, after a certain time interval. After that, we implemented Datadog, which basically monitors the live processes of EC2 instance, such as its network, its disk input output, its metrics. And as here you can see, this is the our EC2 instance networking part. monitoring, and here it says the network traffic per second and how much network is in and how much it is out, and it's all shown here, and this is a live. And this is the status of our disk EC2 instance. It shows all the input output weight, its latency, how much does the disk write and read, its read rate and write rate, along with the disk CPU utilization. And this is the matrix or the system, that is system load, CPU usage, input output weight and memory, and all the network traffic. We also tried to implement different integrations of AWS, but we were not allowed as we do not have the IAM permissions in our AWS account. Now moving on to the WordPress hardening. For the WordPress, we implemented 2FA authentication using Duo. So I will show the example here. So this is our WordPress login page, admin login page, and once we write the username and the password, and we click on login, so it sends a do a push to the device, to the mobile phone, such as Android phone and iPhone phone, and once the iPhone user approves it, then it logins to the admin panel of the WordPress website. And talking about the plugins, we have implemented Duo two-factor authentication as I have shown you now. So these are the settings for it, such as we need all the integration key, secret key, API hostname for it to work. We have implemented inactive logout, which automatically logouts the user after a certain time interval. For example, we can give the settings here. So if the user is inactive for 15 minutes, so it will automatically log out from the WordPress website. We have also implemented W3 Super Cache. Yeah, so it is a very fast caching plugin for WordPress, and it clears cache on certain time interval, and it serves cache pages on the WordPress website, which is a very useful tool. We have also implemented Updraft plus backup restore, which automatically takes backup of the WordPress website. Like as you can see here, the backup was taken on July 23, 2022 on 12:48. So it backups all the data, such as the database of WordPress website plugins, its themes, it's all the upload and other things. We can migrate it to S3, Amazon S3, or we can migrate it to OneDrive or Google Drive. We have different options. As you can see here, Google Drive, Amazon S3, Azure, Google Cloud. We have also manually renamed the themes of our Total Cloud Sec.me website. As you can see here, the theme name is Total Cloud Sec. So it helps to not get detected the website in the WP scan. Thank you. Now I will hand over to Abhinav.
Thank you, Rohit. So I will just share my screen right now. So after the deployment of our web application, we perform various scans to find the vulnerabilities in the various attack services to which our web application is exposed. And with the various scans that are available, we had used scans such as the OAPS ZAP tool. Along with that, we also used the Nmap scan, the WP scan, the Nessus Essentials utility, as well as the Qualys SSL Labs. And the last scan that we did was using the WP theme detector. Now, the Nmap scan over here is help to find the exposed ports or the open ports of the web application. Now, as you can see, the various ports which are open, you can see the port 22 is open along with port 53, that is for our DNS, as the DNS service is running by Namecheap, and port 80 and port 443 are all open as well. Now we also use the WP scan. Now here we can see we have used the enumerate scan for the vulnerable plugins. Now during the scan checks for the version number of the WordPress used along with the theme information. Now since we have customized and edited the directories to hide the theme information, you can see the theme total cloud sec is shown over here. Now apart from that, we also try to block the open plugins. Now you can see no open plugins are found. Now along with this, the other scan that we used on top of it was the WP theme detector, which also gives the same result as the theme is shown over here is total cloud sec. For further scanning, we use the OAPS ZAP tool. Now this tool is an open source web application security scanner. Now it helps find vulnerabilities. We use the automated scan method to scan for the various vulnerabilities present in our website. Now post scanning, we are able to extract the report in an HTML format. So here we have the report from the ZAP tool scanning. Now from here you can see the various alerts and the various metrics that the report has, and the various metric represents the risk rating and the scalability and the range of the alert seen. Now we can see that the report shows that there are no high risk alarms. Medium are 17 and low are 70. And apart from this, we also used the Qualys scanner. Now the Qualys SSL Labs helps to scan the SSL report of our website. Now we have ran the scan, and as you can see, we have a A rating. This checks for the TLS version number and the certificate information that we have from our deployment, which was from Namecheap. Now, as you can see, here are the more details of the scan and the TLS version protocol number. As you can see, the latest version is available on our web application. Now, the last scan we did was the Qualys scan. Now, the Nexus scan, and let me just log in. So the Nexus scan utility is a vulnerability scanner. It gives a comprehensive and a detailed report of all the vulnerabilities present and remediation steps that we need to follow in order to secure our web application. Now the last scan which I ran is over here. Before going to the scan, I'll show you how the scan works. Now when we start a new scan, we have the various options available in the Nexus scanner. The basic network scan performs a full system scan for any suitable host. You can also customize depending on the type of attack or the type of vulnerability you are targeting. It could be any malware, it could be a particular attack like log4j, or any other vulnerability or any other attack that is susceptible to our web application. Now in our scanning approach, we use the basic scan and provided our IP. Uh, the other option of scanning is also providing the website name, and the scanner auto resolves the website IP address. Now moving towards the scan that we performed, the scan is over here. During our scan, it was able to detect various vulnerabilities, 4 of which are listed as critical. 2 are medium, and 41 are informational. Now, the best part about this scanner is it gives the top vulnerabilities and the remediation steps. As you can see, in our installation and our deployment, we had used Apache to deploy our WordPress application. Now, the version we are running on our Apache Linux server is version 2.4.51, and the scanner has detected that there is a latest version available, and the remediation step is to upgrade to 5.3 or later, and the rating of the score and the risk rating is highlighted. So apart from this, there are various other highlights from the scanning which are also given. Now this comprehensive result report helps us in securing our application further and to make it even more secure. I would like to conclude this demo, and thank you all.